Following days, you're not allowed to fast. In some of them, not only are you not allowed to fast, the Leila mispaid behind. You can't even do a eulogy. We're on, you see where we are? Samachay? Samachay, we're right after the Mishnah on Samachay Amar Aleph. What are these days? Meireish Yarcha de Nisan ad Tibnaya. From Rosh Chodesh Nisan until the 8th day. Ad Tibnaya Bay. Is that how you read it at Timnaya? You need to see where the commas are. Yeah, at Timnaya Bay, until the 8th of it. He took Tamida. During those days, it was established the argument between the sages, the Pharisees, and the Perushim, and the Baitusim, how the Karban Tamid was meant to be brought. The Loila mispaid. And therefore they established that those days, you're not even allowed to do a hesped, the eulogy, during those days. We're talking about Rosh Chodesh Nisan until the 8th. Mitamnaya bevad seif mayada, from the 8th of Nisan until the end of Pesach, itosav chaga, the Shvuah, itosav chaga the Shvuah. Was established the holiday of Shavuos, what day it's supposed to be on. The Loila Mispeit. Over here it says the Loila Mispeit. The other gear says it says the Loila Sani. You're not allowed to fast during those days. Last year I had a student who came to me who was telling me, why does the Megillas Tainus, I don't know how he got a hold of the Megillas Tainus. He found that it's published, but it's just an 8th grader can bring in a Megillas Tainus is like. But he came in, he said, why is there a big deal here about fasting? You're not allowed to fast. You're not allowed to fast the whole Nisan, you're not allowed to fast. It says in Shulchan Aruch. What does this have to do with it? I don't remember. I remember he had commentaries there. That's a question here.
What's more strict, the fasting or the eulogy?
The eulogy means that it's even a bigger holiday. The fasting is more...
So if you don't do a eulogy, for sure
you don't do it.
Got it.
So if the girsa here is not to eulogy, not to fast, then what's the big deal? Okay, whatever. And also part of it is Yom Tov. Okay, now we go back and we explain what this was discussing. Meireish Yarcha de Nisan vad Timnaya Bay, from the beginning of Nisan until the 8th, Itukam Tamida. The Tamida was established. The Leila Mispei, that you don't do any hesped there. Why? Shei Tzedukam Aimrim. The scholars discuss why sometimes it says Baitusim, sometimes it says Tzedukim. They claim, I think, that the Tosefta uses the Baitusim for the same things that the Mishnayos will say Tzedukim. Over here it says Baitusim in our Mishnah, but more frequently they say that Tosefta will use the Baitusim. What exactly is the difference between the Tzedukim and Baitusim? That's like I don't know. Tzedukim wa'imrim yachid misnadav v'mevi tamid. Who would bring the carbon tamid? Individual. You want to bring the carbon tamid? You go donate the sacrifice and you could bring it. My durush, where did they get this from? How did they? You see, we don't hold that down. We hold that it was a communal sacrifice. You can't just bring the carbon tamid. But they darshan the pasuk, esakeva secha tasev abayker. The first lamb was brought in the morning. The second lamb you bring in the afternoon. Now the word tasa is a singular, you shall. It's a singular second person. Tasa. So you see that one person is bringing it. It's an individual. Maya hadru. So what did the sages respond to that? Es karbani lach milishi tishmeru. It's my sacrifice for my bread, for my fire. Tishmeru, you shall guard. Tishmeru is a plural. You, second person. You shall. Right? The taf at the beginning and the vav at the end makes it a plural. So Yekulam bar mitrumas alishka, that it came from the community. The Karban Tamid. Mitamnaya bevad seif mayadei taisav chagad shvuad leila mispeid. Okay. From the 8th of Nisan until the end of the holiday, which means the end of Pesach, the holiday of Shavuos was established that you don't do eulogies. Shaya Baitusim Aimrim, the Baitusim would say, Atzeres Achar HaShabbos. Atzeres, Shavuos, is always after Shabbos. Why? Because it says Mimachras HaShabbos. It says, let me tell you the psukim. It says, you will count Usfartam Lachem Mimachras HaShabbos, the day after Shabbos, from the day that you bring the Omer, 7 weeks, 7 complete weeks, until the day after the 7th week, Mimachras HaShabbos Esvias, you'll count 50 days and you'll bring the new offering to Hashem. Okay, so Shavuos, according to the Baitusim, was the day after Shabbos. Mimachras HaShabbos, the day after Shabbos, was always on a Sunday. We mentioned that the Goyim have a holiday on a Sunday around Pesach time, which is based on the Baitusim's interpretation. Nitvalem Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai interacts with them and he discusses this. V'amalem shaitim. Well, he starts off with
use derogatory term. I would not be acceptable nowadays.
That's right. Shaitim. It was not politically correct.
No.
You see, even his way of arguing with them would not be. You'll see, amazing. I mean,
Give him a chance, yeah.
I mean, where do you know this from? There was no one that could respond. He says, "What do you?" We have sources. Basically, what his question was, that it says Zichron Shabbos and Zichron Trua. Shabbos, it's a day of remembering. It's talking about remembering the true. It's talking about that that Rosh Hashanah is called Shabbos. Yom Kippur is Shabbos. We know that holidays are called Shabbos. How do you know it means Saturday? They said it means Saturday. We said it means Yom Tov, Shabbos, because we have it sometimes. How do you know which one it means? So Chutz Mizach Kinecha, there was one elder, Sheyim Mefatvit Kenegdei. He was arguing, opening his mouth against Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. V'amar, he says, Moshe Rabbeinu Oyev Yisrael Haya. Moshe Rabbeinu, he loved the Jews. He knows that Shavuos is only one day.
Long weekend.
Amad v'tiknach Shabbos. So he instituted it to be on a Sunday. Shavuos should be on a Sunday. They should show Masangim Shnei Yamim, so that they should have enjoyment for 2 days.
Makes sense.
So I went to this teacher's seminar in Yad Vashem. We were there for 10 days. It was all non-religious teachers. So over there was a lady that was the wife of a conservative rabbi. She's called a Rebbetzin. Yeah. So she tells me that she tells her congregation, she tries to get some sympathy from them. She says, this Yom Tov, it's a 3-day Yom Tov. She says they don't sympathize at all. They don't know what she's talking about. They don't celebrate the 3 days. She says she wants to get sympathy. She goes to the Chabad Rebbetzin that's over there, and she talks to her about a 3-day Yom Tov. She gets, over there, it's, like, what are you going to do? All the food in the fridge and cooking and freezing and or whatever, refrigerator. Okay. So he claims, no, 2-day Yom Tov would be a pleasure for the Jews. So Moshe Rabbeinu loved the Jews so much, so that's their logic, and therefore he instituted it on Sunday. So Koral of Mikrazeh. So listen to how Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai argues back. He says, look at this. It's an 11-day journey from Har Sinai via Har Seir into Eretz Yisrael. You say he loves the Jews so much. Why do you keep him in the desert for 40 years? You hear the response? It's like sarcasm. So Amalai, Rabbi Bekachach Picheni, this fellow shocked. Tells Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, that's what you're answering me? What are you saying? He doesn't love the Jews? That's like Amalai Shaita says, you fool. Our Torah, our full Torah should not be like your nonsense talk, idle talk. Kasav echad aimer, one pasuk says, Tisbru chamishim yayim. You should count 50 days. Kasav echad aimer, Shava Shabbos is Tmimis Diana. Another one says you should have 7 complete weeks. How do you do 50 days, 7 complete weeks? Why do you have to do it 2 separate verses? Kan be Yom Tov shechalius b'Shabbos. 7 complete weeks is if Yom Tov falls on Shabbos, then you have 7 complete weeks. You start from the following day. Kan be Yom Tov shechalius b'Yom Tov Shabbos. If Yom Tov falls on a Tuesday, Friday, or whatever. It can't fall on a Friday, on a Thursday, or whatever, a Sunday. So then you have 50 days. Okay. That's his response. There's many responses here. But this is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's response. The Gemara gives us a mnemonic. We mentioned before that the more vivid the mnemonic is, the better it is to remember. He said that today they know, they tell you to make these like wild pictures to remember things. What you do is in your house, you have different rooms in your house. You want to remember your shopping list in the store. So in the first room, you put in the front hall, put this giant apple. The next room, you put a big cow. You have to remember to buy meat. So the more vivid, the more like ridiculous the picture. So they give us a mnemonic as well. They want us to remember all the different. So the mnemonic here is Rabbi Eliezer Sefer. Rabbi Eliezer is counting. Rabbi Yeshua Maina. Rabbi Yeshua is counting. It's a different. I'm not sure what the difference in counting is. Rabbi Shmuel Ma'amer. Rabbi Shmuel is bundling, and Rabbi Huda Lamata. Rabbi Huda is below, because he's going to tell us that twice it says it, and that's the way to remember what the following arguments they're going to have with the Baitusim. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer. Whenever it's Rabbi Eliezer, it's always Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes, Rabbi Eliezer Agadol, the author of Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer.
He's the Rabbi of Rabbi Akiva.
The Rabbi of Rabbi Akiva, the Rabbi of Onkelos, the student of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So it's interesting. We're going through the first two are the students of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Eliezer Eimer Ein Tzarech. It's not necessary to say that interpretation. I have another interpretation of how we can prove that Shavuos could be in middle of the week, that you start counting in the middle of the week. Harei Eimer Tispar Lach. It says in the pasuk, 7 weeks you should count for you. This is in Dvarim. This is not in Vayikra. In Re'ei. You count. What do you mean you count? Sfira Tluya bebezdin. The bezdin is gonna be counting. Shehim yedim lechadesh. Shehim yedim. How do you read this? Yeah, you take out the words lechadesh. You take out these words. It's supposed to be lekadesh. Shehim yedim lekadesh. Yom Tov. Take out the words L'chadesh Machas Shabbos Macharas, and you read it L'kadesh Yom Tov. That's what the Shita Mekubetzes and the Diktuk Seifrim had. It's supposed to say L'kadesh Yom Tov because they know how to sanctify the Yom Tov. Yotzah Shabbos Bereshis. It excludes Shabbos Bereshis. By the way, when we use the term here Shabbos Bereshis, we don't mean last week Shabbos Bereshis. We mean Saturday. The Shabbos of creation, which is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, as opposed to Shabbos meaning Yom Tov. So this is excluding Saturday, that everyone counts. So Tisbalach means the Bezdin counts. Bezdin is the one that knows that can sanctify the months. Bezdin is the one that tells us when to based on that we count the Sfira Saimer. But not something you don't have to run to Bezdin to say, Rabbi, is it Saturday? Is it Shabbos? Rabbi Yeshua says, Amar Torah Minei Yamim v'Kadosh Chodesh. Minei Yamim v'Kadosh Atzeres. Rabbi Yeshua says that you count days and you count the months. That means you count 29 days and then you sanctify the month. You also count days and you sanctify Shavuos. Ma chodesh samach lebiyasi nikar. Just like the new month. Before it's the new month, it's recognizable from the moon. That it's recognizable from the moon that it's going to be Rosh Chodesh. Afaterach samach lebiyasi nikar. Also Shavuos, you can recognize from the moon if the moon is 6 days full, or if the moon is 10 days or 11 days or whenever it could be according to the Baitusim, because it would be on a different day. That's what Taisus learns. Taisus learns that Nikeres from the moon. Rashi learned a little different. Rashi learns that Atzeres is recognizable from the 50 days that you start after Yom Tov. Because if you would wait for Sunday, then you won't know exactly when it is. If it's when to start, if it's the 17th or the 18th, because you're starting on a different day. He's not looking at the physical moon, he's thinking about the day of the month on the calendar. Okay. Vim Taimar, and if you'll say, Atzeres Loilam Achar Shabbos, if you're going to say that Shavuos is always on a Sunday, how's it going to be recognizable from beforehand? You won't know, according to Taisvus, you won't know the size of the moon. Rabbi Shmuel Eimer. Rabbi Shmuel says, Amra Torah, the Torah says, Havi Eimer bePesach. It says, you bring the Eimer on Pesach, Shtei Alechem ba'Atzeres. And you bring the 2 loaves of bread on Shavuos. Now we're going to compare. Ma'ala halon regel, just like over there it's a holiday, utchilas regel, and it's the beginning of the holiday. Afkan regel utchilas regel. Also here it's a holiday in the beginning of the holiday. I looked up this in Reb David Tzvi Hoffman's book on Sefer Vayikra. He writes that, you see, what's coming out here, let's say Pesach is on Shabbos. No, let's say Pesach is on Sunday. Okay? So the second day of Pesach would be Monday. According to the Bais, when is Pesach over? Pesach is 7 days, not 8 days. We have 8 days because Chutz La'aretz.
It's over on Shabbos.
It's over on Shabbos. When would they bring the Eimer? After Pesach. There would be no connection between the Eimer and Pesach.
Because Pesach is already over.
Right. So in order, I looked up, because he quotes all the scholars of David Tzvi Hoffman. He quotes these Baitusim followers that said that Pesach was actually, according to them, in order to answer this problem, that the Eimer is associated with Pesach. We see it's associated with Pesach. Shavuos is associated with the Shtei Alechem, with the breads. According to them, there's no association, the Pesach and the Eimer. It could be, if Pesach is on a Sunday, you bring the Eimer afterwards. So in order to avoid that, they said that or some of them said, that you don't count Shabbos as one of the days of Pesach. You follow? So that means Shabbos isn't counted. It's 7 days excluding Shabbos. You have to have it. It's going to be, it's Shabbos in the middle, you know. So he asks, what would they do?
So that means every Pesach would be 8 days.
There's always a Shabbos. There would always be a Shabbos in. So they would be avoiding that. Anyway, we're getting into a field that there's no way out of it. You know, okay. So he says, according to the comparison, just like Pesach, the Eimer is brought at the beginning of the holiday, and Shavuos, just like Shavuos rather, the Shtei Alechem is brought at the beginning of the holiday. So to Pesach, the Eimer is brought at the beginning of the holiday. And just like on Shavuos, you have days to make up after Shavuos. And on Pesach you have days, just on Pesach you have the days to make up. You bring it as a karbanos at the beginning, and Shavuos also you have days to make up. Whatever the case is, the Eimer is at the beginning of the holiday. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Eimer. There's another girsa that says Rabbi Yeshua ben Beseira. I'm not so familiar with him as Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira was alive at the time of the Beis Hamikdash. He was the one that when a guy came to him and said, I ate from the Karban Pesach last year. So he told him, but they didn't give you the tail.
The real good
tail.
The good.
So he says, no, they didn't. He said, well, next time you go, ask for the tail. So he goes the next time he asked for the tail. How come you're keeping the tail? I want the tail. So they said, who told you to ask for the tail? They said, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira lives in Netzivan. So they said, no, this is strange. The tail gets burnt, the fat of the tail. Why did he send it? They looked and they found he wasn't Jewish. He was just going to tag along to, for the Kiddush. So, so he was there by the temple, and he says, Nemar Shabbos l'mayla v'nemar Shabbos l'mata. It says Shabbos by Pesach. It says Shabbos by Shavuos. Malahalan regel utchilas regel samachla. Afkan regel utchilas regel samachla. Just like over here. Shabbos lamata. Shavuos. Just like over here, it's the holiday, and it's the beginning of the holiday is right next to it. Afkan regel utchilas regel samachla. Also over here, it's the holiday. Also on Pesach, it's the beginning of the holiday.
That's like the one before.
It's very similar. What it means is, you see, it says Shiva Shavuot, Shiva Shavuos. No, it says Svartim Machzor Shavuos. I'd be Machras Shabbos Ashvius, Tisper Chamishim Yom. After the 7th Shabbos, the 7th week, you count 50 days. Now, the 50th day is actually not counted. It's only 49 days. So it's after the 7 weeks that you celebrate the holiday. So just like over here, it's right after the counting of the 7 weeks. Just like over here, the holiday is right after the Shabbos. Also over there, it starts right after the holiday. That's what his comparison is. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan. The rabbis taught in a Braisa. Svartim lachem. You should count. Talking about the Sfir Saimer. Should take Sfir l'chol echad ve'echad. Every person should count. This is the source of the discussion about making the bracha if you missed the day. It says every individual has to count. It's not a din in the Beis Din. Like we said before, tisper lach, that you count. That's like, it's interesting that it's singular. Over here, lachem is the plural, you, and this means every single person. When do you count? Mimachar Shabbos means mimachar Yom Tov. It means after Yom Tov. Maybe it means you count from Sunday. You count from after Saturday. Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Aimer, we're going through more Tanoim that have proofs. Here they're not saying it as an argument against Baitusim, they're just discussing it as how do we learn the pasuk. Harayu Aimer, it says Tispru Chamishim Yaim. It says you should count 50 days. Kol Sfir Shat Sefer Layol Chamishim Yaim. Your whole counting should only be 50 days. If you say you count from Sunday, sometimes you're going to count 51 days. Why? Because when do you start counting? After Yom Tov of Pesach, you start from Sunday. So you're counting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, and then Sunday. You're actually counting more. 51. Sometimes you're going to have many more days that you're counting. And it's only supposed to be 50 days. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says, ain't it tzarech. It's not necessary. We'll just do one more here. It says you should count. Sfira teluya bebeis din. Dependent on the Beis Din. Yatsa Shabbos Bereishis, that's Rasa B'chol Adam. This excludes Shabbos Bereishis, that everyone counts. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that you don't need a Beis Din to determine. It must be that it's Yom Tov, because Yom Tov is determined by the Beis Din. Okay, let's leave it over here.
It's amazing the Gemara goes through so many proofs. Like, they obviously held that Baitusim had something to say, otherwise they wouldn't have to keep refuting it.
They were just very tough.
Baitusim.
Sure.
I would just say it's a Messiah and that's it.
No, they were very tough.